So
Yeah.
going through first asks, I had a good insight for me, which is that's now for me occurring as a way to give, serve, love,
Yeah, man.
not just asking for attention.
Right.
So that was great. Like, ooh, I got motivation now that I didn't have before. And then as I'm like, okay, well, how do I want to do that? Because I'm with you only in ways that
Mhm.
I love to do it. Thoughts on first asks for introversion and privacy? What will be effective first asks for me that I love?
Okay, because I'm an introvert? As an introvert, is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's the way it's
So
current.
what is it here's the thing. Introversion is definitely very different from extroversion, and I'm gonna go on a limb here and say a lot of introversions throw themselves under the bus unnecessarily by taking other things that are uncomfortable and just lopping it in. That's because I'm introverted, like some kinda get out of jail free card. So, like, somebody the other day said, like, "Oh, I'm not charismatic because I'm introverted." I was like, "That's not the same thing." You can be extremely charismatic and introverted. Extroversion is wanting to be out and around people, getting energy from people, right? It's like introversion is like getting your energy from time alone, right? And I read the book. You ever read the book Quiet?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you know this distinction. And so in that same way, I'm just challenge and push back a little bit first and say like, is it that you don't want to do that because being in conversation with that many people drains you as an introvert, or is it because it's uncomfortable to reach out and direct message people or something that you're conflating with introversion?
Yeah, thank you. I'm with you, and I thought along the same lines. And the way it occurs to me now is kind of visually like it's really easy for me for energy to just stay within my own sphere,
Mhm.
and that feels more natural. And so, like, sometimes it happens I start reaching out, like making a video or doing a post or something like that. And then I look up half an hour later, I'm like, oh, it's just all going back in here. It's not going out anymore. Um, so maybe it's just discomfort with outreach in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think an introvert is going to stay home and write and share things with the a successful introvert is creating things in privacy and quiet and in their own space, and they're sharing it with the world, and it's impacting people. And then people might respond, and then they might engage with one of those people, one person at a time. They're not going to get on a Facebook Live and be talking to 15 people at once, maybe they will. But it depends on where they're where they meet extroversion. Like my friend Rich Litvin is a very introverted and very successful and very charismatic, and he is very happy on a stage. But you get him off the stage, and the people start coming around, and he wants to run up to his hotel room. He talks about this at his events. He's like, it's hard for him. It's just energetically in his body. And I'm the opposite. It's hard for me to be alone. I'm like, I have to get down off the stage and talk to people. And it's like, at the end of the night, I probably should go to bed, but I'm like, I want to stay at the party. I'm always the last one to leave. And so, because I get my energy there. And so it's like, that's the thing that matters, but you can still be introverted and be expressing into the world without exposing yourself to the world in a way where it drains your energy. And so I do think that what we're talking about here is not your introversion as an obstacle. It's developing figuring out what's in the way of me taking these things and pressing them out into the world. So let's say, well, let's put introversion aside, and what's uncomfortable about that? What has you want to just return to the self reflection or the inside, inside your own world?
Yeah, thank you. And I can relate a lot to the distinction you make between your tendency and Rich's.
Yeah.
And
And you've seen me at parties, but you could probably, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And it's same for me. It's like I like being on stage and I can feel really comfortable and charismatic in that way. And yeah, I don't know yeah, I thought about it. I thought about the Marcus Aurelius impediment to action quotation in relationship to this yesterday, and I don't see it yet. Like what's
Well,
uncomfortable.
you feel uncomfortable in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Can you think of an instance where it was like, oh, I could go outward facing with this right now, but that's uncomfortable. So I'll stay in this inward cycle? An example or an instance?
What it feels like and maybe I'm just missing something, but it feels like I don't know, maybe it's like in that sort of artistic sense of, like, not finishing something, it's not done enough, don't wanna put out like, I wrote an article yesterday, and then I'm like, didn't quite finish it, so I'm not putting it out yet, and I'm like, I don't know if I have time to go back and work on that more. I should be, doing more just direct outreach.
There's something I should be doing more of
Yeah,
this. So there's conflict. It's like
yeah,
I'm not doing a good job. I should be doing things differently.
yeah,
All that stuff just costs so much energy. It should be better. It should be finished in a certain way before I put it out. Like, yeah, just
yeah,
this. And so all of that comes from the idea that I'm not saying this is a true or false idea. It just comes from the idea that the most important thing is the quality of what I put out. That's the most important thing, right? And that's an idea. That's one idea. Another idea is the most important thing is that I am putting things out and that I am making an impact on some level on people on a regular and consistent basis.
mm,
That's a different idea. And those
mm,
those two ideas create very different outcomes, actions and outcomes. I tend to favor the second idea. Like quality is important to me, but it doesn't trump consistency and output because silence creates nothing. Lower quality creates something, might be not as much as the higher quality does. And you can also get better at improving your quality by having a constancy of output,
yeah,
by continually serving people. And there's another version of that for me when I'm creating a video, like inside of a single piece of content. I have the most important thing is that I'm being with another person through video.
mm,
That's it. What I'm talking about, how clear spoken I am, how many times I repeat myself, all that stuff is secondary. That stuff's important. In fact, I'm working on not repeating myself so much and being more concise in my videos. Maybe people will be happy. I see some smiles, but like, it's still not as important for me that I show up and I share my truth and my being because in my reality, in my world, the transmission of that being is the highest contribution.
mm,
And so these ideas that I have, they're not just random principles. They're principles that I hold because they keep me in action
mm,
and they keep me in service
mm,
because of what the way I prioritize it is essentially it's just a way of keeping me in the prioritization of action and service.
mm.
And I get to keep the other things important. I'm just moving it to second position. So I think you're onto something with seeing that like love and service as your ask for attention. If you were to make you doing that on a regular basis the most important thing, and then how effective it is, the quality of it, how great the article is finished, how many people it was, blah, 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 blah. Secondary, then you're going to see a lot more action coming out of you in service. Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, I love
As
it.
an
Thank you.
introvert. Awesome. Thanks, buddy.